Hey mi gente, it's Junie and Steve. You already know my name, but if you're new here, hey! Today we're going to be talking about why Miles Morales is not Afro-Latino, and I know this may trigger some people. I'm going to tell you right here, right now, that is not my objective. My objective is to educate people, specifically black people, non-black Latinos, and any person of color who wants to learn, or even white people who want to learn. We're going to start the video now. To start off, I'm going to be talking about the two Rio Morales characters. In the Marvel Spider-Man video game, there are similarities to the Spider-Verse franchise storytelling and characters. Miles' mother, Rio Morales, looks mestiza Puerto Rican in the video game. In case you do not know, a mestiza is a mixture of white and indigenous. That's what Rio looks like in the video game and original 2011 comic. Rio's voice acting is done by Jacqueline Bion. Rio Morales in the Spider-Verse series. Rio Morales in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is racially ambiguous. However, she passes as mestiza with a tan or a mixed race Afro-Latina. Also, in articles, people refer to her son Miles as biracial. Even actor Brian Tyree Henry talked a bit about the representation of the Spider-Verse and blended families. He sure did.
What makes you the most proud when you think about your character in this movie? You think about the arc. What are you most proud of?
That we have a representation of this beautiful black and Latino family where the father is there for his son, cares for his son, that his son beyond being a Spider-Man was exceptional and loved. And I don't know, these families exist. These are, representative of the families that I know. And so it's really nice to see the superhero being cared and loved for by a family like this.
I think there's something really special about.
In this movie, Rio is portrayed by Lauren Vernez. Lauren Vernez is Afro-Latina, and I found an interesting interview from 2018 or 2019.
There's so many little things as film. Also, as an Afro-Latina, I am so happy to see
Afro-Latinas
on the screen there, and especially in animation, and that Miles has his mom's last name.
Yes.
Very Latino.
Right, exactly. It's very Latino. And that's really interesting. For a while, my mom is a Sanchez. And for a while, I was like, maybe I'm just going to go by Sanchez, Luna Sanchez. And I thought, well, I'm going to just stick to Luna. So it would be too big a leap to change that much.
I know. I suppose I like my Spanish surname from my dad more than my mom's surname, which is Sinclair. It was too long.
Sinclair's kind of cool, though.
Yeah. So I still use it. It's todo junto.
Todo junto.
But
For what it looks like, it seems like the creators of the Spider-Verse franchise wanted to make Miles Morales to be mixed race, biracial black. That's the agenda according to what I've been reading and all the sources I've been using, and how people, a part of the franchise, refer to him as a biracial black boy, teenager. And I believe they tried to go based by the original comic book based on Miles Morales. In my opinion, for what I'm seeing, it seems like they wanted to make Miles Morales' mom, Rio Morales, to be Afro-Latina without directly saying she's Afro-Latina in the movie. But at the same time, I can't really say that because Lauren Vernez does not acknowledge that her character Rio is Afro-Latina like her. She refers to her as like she's mestiza, different type of race of a Puerto Rican woman. And these specifics make it very confusing for people like me who actually care about his identity. Because at the end of the day, I'm an Afro-Latino, and I want to see people directly say, I'm black this, I am black that. I don't want to be hearing, oh, this character is biracial black, mixed race. I want to hear specifics. Rio Morales is supposed to be either a mixed race Afro-Latina, or she's supposed to be a mestiza who happens to have a darker tan. And I feel like this confuses everyone. And it kind of pisses me off in a way too, because it shows that when it comes to certain people within the diaspora, the black diaspora, the African diaspora, however you prefer to call it, specifically the celebrities, they love trying to follow a politic when it comes to how they present themselves within media and how they try to keep a job, which is totally understandable for Lauren. I guess she gotta keep her job. She's an Afro-Puerto Rican woman, Afro-Latina.
Yeah. In the film, you have this huge success remaining authentic to who you are. I read a quote where you talked about when you got in the business, so many people thought when you brought up the word Latino, they just meant Mexican.
Yeah.
That's what you said, that it felt like in the industry.
Well, I think because even then, the idea, what we were seeing on TV was all Latinos look Mexican. Yeah. Rosie Perez was really the first Afro-Latina or Latina who kind of looked like me, and I felt like, well, there we are. I mean, that's what a lot of us look like. Everyone doesn't look like Penelope Cruz or Salma Hayek, or, I mean, these are beautiful women and Latinas, but something that represented me and my family. This is something as women of color, we come in all different shades. We have so much, you know.
Which is so interesting, because I know that with the Spider-Verse film, you talk about how important it was to really see a character that looked like and felt like the real families that you grew up around.
I've talked about this numerous times on my videos of how they love trying to have people who are mixed race or light-skinned or people that don't look completely black. And you know what I mean? You all know what I mean by that. To represent Afro-Latinos. They want someone who looks racially ambiguous or someone who looks mostly non-black. Sure, representation matters for all types of people within the diaspora, but I don't like the fact that Lauren Vanez, who happens to be Afro-Latina, cannot be specific on what her character's background is. And she's keep on backtracking and going from, oh, my character is Afro-Latina representation.
Afro-Latina's wrong!
And then the next moment she's saying, Miles Morales is biracial. How he's biracial if you're Afro-Latina and your character is Afro-Latina?
Anything you want to piggyback off of that?
Yeah, and I mean, what I truly love about the Morales family is that here we have such a huge universe that they're operating in. You know, we have a son who is incredibly exceptional, not just as a person, but also as a superhero. We also are living in present day Brooklyn, you know, like, you know, you have this black man with this wonderful Latino wife, and we have created this wonderful Afro-Latino son who has now been given the responsibility of protecting and defending the city. There's also a lot of pressures that come with that. You know, how do you keep the family together? How do you make sure that you're nurturing your child in the best possible way? Teenagers, no, just full stop, teenagers, you know what I mean? But what I really love about what the Spider-Verse has done for us is that it has given a chance for representation to be seen between this familial unit that I've never seen before. I don't think I've ever seen a superhero, living, in a brownstone in Brooklyn, with a cop father, and a wonderful, strong wife and mother, like that is just like going to Brooklyn Tech, and like we're talking about his future and building his future, but also we love each other. And so I think that is something that can play a little understated, but it's so big, it's so important, and I think Luna and I really wanted to make sure that always came across between Jefferson and Rio, that the love is there, that when you see them, that they parent together and that they love together and that they're growing together. And
it seems like her character is not meant to be Afro-Latina. Maybe they just wanted her to be a bit racially ambiguous, but her character is not supposed to be Afro-Latina. And it seems like they want to make this as an interracial relationship, which is even more confusing, because how is this going to be an interracial relationship if Lauren Vanez is Afro-Latina? Brian Tyree Henry is a Black American. The issue is the fact that they do not want to see a Black person who happens to be a Black Puerto Rican and a Black American. They don't want to have that intersection with multicultural backgrounds within Black love or Black relationships in general. We're not all the same. We're not a monolith. We're not. And I feel like this series did a bad job on trying to indicate differences between the African diaspora and showing how there could be two Black people who happen to be in love. They have a kid, and the kid happens to have two ethnicities while being completely Black. And I know this is representation for Latinos of all races and Black people, whether you're biracial Black or you're Black. And when I say you're Black, I'm talking about Black to Black parents. I understand this may be representation for you, but for me, it's not. I'm tired of seeing poor portrayals of Afro-Latinos in media. I'm tired of seeing mixed race Afro-Latinos representing only us. We're not all mixed race. My parents are two Black people from Honduras. I get it. Representation is important. However, we deserve to get proper representation. Otherwise, all these identity politics or whatever this film is trying to do is going to get into a mess. YouTuber Myra's Word made a great point of multi-ethnic Black couples and their children.
The reason that this is problematic is because there's a push that has been happening for over a century, really, with my research, where we want to believe that mixed race people are going to be the face of America. In 1995, the cover of Time magazine is a racially ambiguous woman, and it says, "The New Face of America, How Immigrants Are Shaping the World's First Multicultural Society." And then in smaller text, it says, "Take a good look at this woman. She was created by a computer from a mix of several races. What you see is a remarkable preview." But what this fails to include in the analysis is that Black, dark-skinned people can also be immigrants. And if the biggest growing continent on the world is Africa, what does that, particularly Nigeria, what does that mean when you're saying that the future of the world is mixed race? Does that mean that you're not counting the continent that's growing at its fastest rate? It's just, I think that there's a push to say the world is going to be mixed race because that is the only solution that white supremacy sees as an answer for systemic racism. The earliest thing I see is from 1930s by this, Austrian guy. So the reason that this is also problematic is because it assumes that racial mixing is always going to be with a lighter race or like a white person or a non-Black person. A lot of Africans are intermarrying. A lot of diasporic Africans are intermarrying. There are a lot of African Americans that get with Jamaicans, a lot of Nigerians that will get with African Americans. Like, these are also people who have multi-ethnic identities that are continuously erased because we focus on multiculturalism looking light skin. So the root of how we view multiculturalism is almost innately colorist. All these articles that have been around for hundreds of years, well, not, I don't know about hundreds, child, but for a while, that's saying that mixed race is the future, multiculturalism is the future. It creates this complex where a lot of people really believe that mixed race people are advanced, are a more refined version of Blackness. And that's where I see all of this going.
As Maya was stated, the media we consume wants to erase the idea of Black people having different ethnicities. Instead, they rather create interracial couples in their works. Miles Morales. And there may be a conversation on, well, this is a kid's movie. Well, they made it specific with certain things that they be saying in the interviews, talking about Miles is Afro-Latino. That has to do with race. And then also, they talk about how Miles is representing his Black and Latino heritage, yet Blackness could be together with Latino-ness. If Latino-ness is a real word. The point is, you cannot separate being Black and Latino because that is what you are as an Afro-Latino. You can't separate it. In that case, that would mean you're mixed. And being a Latino is an ethnicity. It's not a race. But I do know there are some people who are mixed race who refer to them as Black and Latino. I get it. Some people do not want to show or say their whole information about their background or being more specific. YouTuber Fab Socialism talked about how media today does representation badly by including numerous ethnicities and races all at once.
That being said, Disney has a history of uplifting, especially with this film, neoliberal ideologies, like the colorblindness of the whole film and the whitewashed way we are constantly presented with diversity. In this part, I'll start to tell you about what I've seen actually watching the film. And I didn't think I was going to watch it because I didn't think I really needed to, but I'm glad I did, because with what you said is a huge part of the film. That film has every race, every ethnicity, everything, everything.
But do they have every body type?
I'm going to say no. I think the only person that you can consider plus size or fat is Ursula. And of course, evil characters are typically going to be depicted like that. I would remember, I think, if there was a mermaid who was plus size. Because what they did do is they did show a dark-skinned mermaid within at least, I would say, 2 to 3 minutes of the film starting. They have one darker skinned mermaid, and then every other mermaid is like white, Asian. You have a like racially ambiguous Latina looking mermaid. The dad is he seems like he could be from, I don't even know, maybe like a Spanish speaking country or something. That's what I think his accent was. The queen, so the prince, the white guy, the queen, his mom is a Black, I would say she's a dark skinned woman. And then the king is like some white guy. It's like similar to like the Cinderella, Brandy, the Asian prince. It was just everything. It seemed like before the movie came out, okay, race matters. But then in the movie, race does not matter. Everything is completely colorblind. And I was like, there's something about that is a political statement to the public for right now. Because none of that makes sense. That's clearly a communication tool. Diversity is great, but the way we do diversity is just clearly something that is contrived within the last 20 years.
And the way that we think of diversity is really problematic. Living in an anti-Black world, like Blackness is just one monolith, right? Instead of the acknowledgement of the diversity of cultures, we only view diversity as a racial element, as in how close to white can you be to now be looking diverse? Mm-hmm. Because a diverse cast could be a dark-skinned Jamaican person, a dark-skinned Ghanaian, a brown-skinned Congolese, like that could be diverse, right? And then an African-American person, but that's not how we think of diverse. Diversity just means the proximity to whiteness. That's how Hollywood's version of like diversity is like how close can you look to being mixed race, which I've made a lot of videos about how I feel like that is, we're striving towards, like we see that as like something to strive towards, to like be like everyone is mixed with something. And that's why we have
Tiana and Mayowa made valid points in this video, Myra touched on the illusion media like Disney wants to make everything diverse to not isolate other races. Most media companies refer to diversity as everyone being included, not multicultural black groups being together. That needs to change. Otherwise, we're going to have more Spider-Verse pieces with too much going on. I do not want people to think that this is Afro-Latino representation like the media and the actors and the creators of Spider-Verse has been pushing. I want you to think of this as a piece where they are trying to do Black and Latino representation together, not as Afro-Latino representation. If you have been on this channel for quite some time, you already know I genuinely care as a person who is Afro-Latino, who is also dark-skinned, and is not seen properly in media when it comes to these representations. I don't want to see crumbs. I don't want to see crumbs. I want to see legit representation. And I know some of you love this series. Awesome for you. But like I said, this is Black and Latino representation. This is not Afro-Latino representation. Afro-Latino is together. I'm going to repeat this again. Afro-Latino is together. It's not separated. It's not I'm half this, half that. You're one. So to me, this is not Afro-Latino representation. And probably to some people within the diaspora as well. I know this video is a lot to some, but I cannot make this stuff up. I use valid sources and logic. I mean, I am Afro-Latino myself, and seeing this type of representation labeled as Afro-Latino representation does nothing for me. Lauren Vanez needs to do better when it comes to speaking up for accurate representation of Afro-Latinos, especially dark-skinned Afro-Latinos with two Black parents. We're not all mixed race and have racial blended families. Maybe that's your family experience, Lauren. That's not mine. If you want to represent Afro-Latinos Hollywood and media in general, try to make movies related to Afro-Latinos with two Black parents. Have the Afro-Latinos be of all shades and countries if it flows with the stories. If you want to represent biracial Black Latinos or biracial Black Afro-Latinos, do your research. Read articles, books, and watch documentaries. Or watch my videos. And check out my playlist. I have a bunch of playlists that talk about Afro-Latinos. Thank you so much if you made it this far in this video. I appreciate you. Be sure to like this video, comment, and share, especially for people who need this, because people need this video. I definitely think people need this video. It's always good to critique the media you love. Okay? Okay. Thank you. And